Oh, hi there, Scorpio. It's Jen with Bohemian Path Tarot. Thank you so much for dropping by. We're doing a tarot reading today. How about that? I am using the Light Seer Tarot. We love it. I'm going to go ahead and give the deck a really good shuffle for you, and I will meet you on the other side of the shuffle for your reading. See you there. Okay, Scorpio, let's see what's going on. Oh boy, the Tower. Nine of Pentacles. Well, somebody's riding a roller coaster, but I do like the color scheme. And the Wheel reversed. The Nine of Wands. Okay. Well, there's definitely a beautiful color scheme here. I'll say that. Starting with the Nine of Wands, I don't mean to be flippant at all. Starting with the Nine of Wands, I know, I can tell you've been through it. The Nine of Wands is that moment, that phase when you take a breath, knowing you have been pushing so hard, knowing you don't know if you've got an ounce of push left, knowing if you can make it to the finish line. I ran a marathon one time. I didn't run it. I ran walk it. I'm not an athlete. I did it for charity. And I only ever did a marathon one time. I won't ever do it again. It was really hard, if you can imagine. And I trained for it, but I'll tell you, I have spoken with other people who regularly do marathons or who are athletes, and you know, a lot of people will say there's a mile that a lot of athletes get to where it's just it seems like impossible to go on. For me, it was mile 19 out of the 26.2 miles that make up a marathon. I got to mile 19 and I'm like, I don't think I can do it. Now, getting 19 miles is a lot, and that's only, you know, 7 miles away or whatever. But it felt like I couldn't go on. I really thought about quitting, and somehow I didn't, and I made it all the way to the end. And for me, the Nine of Wands always feels like mile 19. Like, I've come a long way, but I don't know how the heck I'm gonna go the distance, even though I don't have much further to go. And even though I've put in so much to get here, I don't know how I'm going to make it. You're going to make it, Scorpio. You're going to make it. This card says you have it in you. There's just a little bit more. You just have to just put one foot in front of the other. And this card validates you have put in so much. You've put in so much. You have struggled. You have strained. You've put in an effort. You have fought the good fight. And there's just a little bit further to go. Now, okay, so the Tower. I'm going to say, for those of you that are tarot fans and are familiar with the tarot, seeing this card, you're thinking, oh no, I can't even. The Tower isn't a fun card to get sometimes. It can be an extra card. If we have been putting off making a change that we know we need to make. This has come up for me in my own personal life, like when I had a bad tire, when the low air or low pressure light comes on in my car, and I'm like, I really need to change that. I need to get a new set of tire. I need to do something about that. I'll wait until next weekend because I can't deal with it right now. I've got other stuff I got to do. And then I put it off and I put it off. And of course, what happens? Blowout. And it didn't need to happen because I had the handy dandy light that told me I needed to do it, but I didn't. This has come up for me like when I worked at a job that I didn't like and was only a temporary thing, but I ended up there for 6 years, and I kept meaning to get another one, but stuff would come up and I just didn't get around to sprucing up my resume. And then the office got really, really toxic and dramatic, and stuff started happening. And then more stuff, even more dramatic, and it's that kind of energy comes up with the Tower a lot. So this is kind of what's happening next. This is what could happen next in a time when you're already been through it. So you can avoid a super dramatic kind of experience with something you don't want in your life anyway, something you don't want to experience, something you don't want to change. So if if I don't get a different job, I'm going to get fired, or I'm going to get, I'm going to get put in a position I don't want to be in, or, my boss is going to leave and I'm going to have to work for that terrible boss that I don't want to work for, or if I don't move out, I am going to have to live with my ex, who I don't want to have to live with just because we're paying rent together. We're not romantically, whatever the story, whatever your sort of backstory is right now, you can take control of your narrative and write a better story for yourself. It just requires a little gumption. And I know. Dude, I know. Another thing I want to say, I have a couple of other thoughts about the tarot or the Tower, and I'm going to say them now. In the Lenormand deck, which is another card deck, which is kind of based on tarot, but it's a little bit different. There is a Tower card in the Lenormand deck as well. It's a little bit different. The Tower in the Lenormand deck is a card that is about government offices. It's about kind of stiff institutions. It's about sort of the military and government and banks and just institutions. So when I see the Tower in the tarot come down, I always think of that version of the Tower, stiff institutions, Big Brother, corporate greed, suit wearing, pantyhose wearing, structures that I wouldn't want to be a part of anyway, that I don't want my life to look like anyway. I'm glad that structure would be coming down, right? So I have to be thrilled that a sort of institution that I don't want my life to look like or to become is falling down. Another way to think of the Tower is a foundation that was crummy anyway, that was, poorly built or shoddily built, is finally shaking down. A lot of times I've taken jobs in my life where I only ever meant it to be temporary because I just needed a thing to get me through to the next thing, right? And so why should I be sad if the boss that I liked moved on and now I'm going to have to work for a boss that I don't want to work for? That's the sign from the universe saying, you didn't want this job anyway. You wanted to be doing this other thing. So go on and get moving towards that other dream that you had, right? That's a Tower moment. Okay, here's my third thought about the Tower. You know, in this version, I'm going on and on and on about the Tower because it's so dramatic. Usually, in most interpretations of the Tower, you see like a medieval castle, and like lightning is hitting the tower, and medieval people are falling, screaming out of the tower, and there's all these medieval people on the bottom screaming and calling upon the Lord, and trumpets and are sounding, and angels are, you know, it's like a whole medieval scene. And, you know, you just know that inside that a medieval tower that's falling, there are knights in armor. And I also think of the tower, bear with me, I'm about to make a point, I promise. You think inside that medieval tower there's knights in armor, and you think of armor as like, you know, a defense, right? Armor serves a purpose. Like if you're taking cannonballs, you want to be wearing armor, but armor doesn't serve you if you want to do yoga, or if you want to do hula hoops, or if you want to drive a Vespa down a cute little Italian lane. I don't know, if you want to do anything cool in this world, you can't be wearing armor. If you want to fall in love and make love, you can't do that in armor. You have to kind of be open and raw and available and vulnerable. So for me, a tower moment is also about taking down defenses. Like we don't need a tower to live in our world. We're not taking cannonballs. You know, we have to be available and open and vulnerable. So the tower is also about breaking down defenses so we can live a more authentic life. So enough about that. Even though you're in a moment where you have put in a lot of work, a lot, and you're tired, and you've put in a lot towards your dreams, and you've put in a lot of energy, and you've worked really, really hard. This is a moment of transition, and a transition that you need. And even though it means that everything that you have built up till now is kind of falling apart, and you may have to live kind of raw and rough for a bit. On the other side of this, there is a sort of independence in this Nine of Pentacles. Look, we go from this Nine of inspiration through this breakdown in the tower to this Nine of Pentacles. There is a bit more earthy energy, being sort of closer to the ground, being making your own rules, making your own life, whereas the Nine of Wands is always outwardly focused, looking for outward validation, looking for success in the world, looking for making the journey in an external way. The Nine of Pentacles is a more grounded, stable, sort of sedentary life. You can even see that, you know, in the difference between these two cards. They're both nines, which are like sort of nearing the end of a journey, but instead they even look like they're the same character, right? But here she has put up a fence, and she's learned to live within her boundaries. She's learned to live independently in a sedentary way. She stopped sort of roaming and, you know, living, extending herself, pushing, like spending too much energy as she had lived in this phase. And she's content in this smaller, you know, sedentary phase. Okay? I hope that makes sense. And then the final card we have here is the Wheel which is, in this deck, it's the wheel. Traditional tarot is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, it's tricky to talk about the Wheel of Fortune because it always feels like it's somehow about luck. But we make our own luck to a certain degree, right? We have to go out and meet the world. We have to go out and be ready to experience the world, submit resumes, and make the most of opportunities. Jobs don't just come to our front door. Lovers don't just come to our front door. We have to go out and sort of, or at least join dating apps or whatever. But there are times when there's a better season to, plant seeds for certain kinds of things. There's a better season for strawberries. There's a better season for potatoes. There's a better season for, certain kinds of fish or deer or whatever. And so the wheel speaks to a time when there's a better season. There's a new season for something in your life. This is reversed. So something is shifting, but it's not quite there yet, or something is about to shift in your favor, but it looks like there may be a hesitation on your part to meet the universe, or to conspire with the universe. You've got to get out there a little bit more, like say you want some strawberries, like you got to get out in the field, right? You got to go out to the field and get on your knees and pick some berries. Like if it's strawberry season, you can't wait for the strawberries to come to your door. There's still that piece where, so there's some piece where you have to take a little bit of action, but if we recap this whole reading, we find you at a place where you have expended a ton of energy, and you're finding yourself having to make boundaries because you have expended too much. You have been through so much. You have done so much that you're riding on fumes. That's where we find you. You barely have any energy left. And so you need to streamline. You're making your life smaller, and you're setting boundaries. So much so that, and it's good and right for you to do so, because otherwise, there are some parts that are just going to have to collapse if you don't, or may already be collapsing, or you may be letting go. You may be setting these sort of bonfires around your little property yourself. Maybe that's you setting little bonfires around your property so you can. Isn't that a thing that happens too in farming, or where you set controlled bonfires so you can just focus on certain areas? But this is the result of just being able to focus on a limited parcel of your land, a smaller, contained, sort of sedentary, independent, a laser-focused sort of part of your life. And then finally, we start to see things shift as you narrow your focus, as you let go of things, and kind of have to let go of some things. You may be forced to let go of some things. There are things you are choosing to let go of, and you may just find you just have to let go of some things and become laser focused. The wheel starts to shift, and there is a change in sort of the opportunities and the seasonality of opportunities shifts for you. Wow. This is one of the longer readings that I did, definitely, sometimes by like double. But it's kind of intense, like you, my dear Scorpio. I support you. I know you've been through it. I wish you all the best. Please take care of yourself. Please take good care of yourself. Please set some good boundaries. Please reach out as you need to. And I thank you for dropping by. Until next time, bye for now.